Hello students, I welcome you all to my next video lecture on biofertilizers. This particular unit has been divided into three parts. Today, let us study about the first part of biofertilizers. In this particular unit, we are going to study following things. Let us study about what these biofertilizers are and how these biofertilizers has been classified, the advantages of biofertilizers, isolation, identification, mass production of the different biofertilizers like bacterial biofertilizers such as Rhizobium, Azotobacter, Azospirillum, blue-green algae, Azolla, fungal biofertilizers like Mycorrhiza, that is WAM, phosphate solubilizers as biofertilizers, carrier-based inoculum, liquid-based inoculum, and quality control of biofertilizers as per Indian standard. These are the things which we are going to study in this particular unit. Now, let us start with the actual topic, biofertilizers. Before going to this, we all know plants are the important organisms which are being found as a producers. They are the producers where all the living organisms are dependent on these plants for their food. Hence, plants, for the process of synthesizing the food materials, they require some nutrition for their growth, development, as well as for the process of synthesis of organic substances. This has been supplied for the plant from the soil. Soil acts like a natural media wherein which large amount of nutrients, macro as well as micronutrients, are present in the soil. If the soil lack these nutrients which are essential for the growth of the plants, the growth of the plant is retarded. Hence, the human being from past several years, they have been followed with the soil management since from olden days, that is enriching the soil by adding certain nutrients. Recently, from past 60 to 70 years, the fertility of the soil is being improved by applying various chemical fertilizers because of the increase in the population. Because of this, the production or the yield of the crop has to be increased. In order for such reason, the chemical fertilizers has been added into the soil for the growth of the plant, which has led for lots of pollution as well as biomagnification. Hence, there is a need of an alternative for increasing the nutrient in the soil naturally. The only way is for the use of certain microorganisms which has an ability of increasing the fertility of the soil. Those microorganisms which improves the fertility of the soil, those that such kind of preparations are called as biofertilizers. So once again, biofertilizers, fertilizers, these are the substance. Fertilizers are the substances which improves the fertility of the soil. Fertility indicates if the soil has to be called as fertile, it should have enough amount of macro and micronutrients. Macronutrients which includes NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These are the major ingredients or the components which are essential as a macronutrients for the growth and development of the plants. So for which we are adding the substances into the soil, those are called as fertilizers. If it is in the form of chemicals, say for example urea or superphosphate, if it is in the form of chemicals, they are called as chemical fertilizers. If we are going to use a microorganisms or the product of the microorganism which has an ability of increasing the fertility of the soil, such preparations are called as biofertilizers. Bio means living organism which are involved in increasing the fertility of the soil. They are called as biofertilizers. So biofertilizer is a substance which contain living or latent in the sense dormant microorganism or the product of the microorganism which when applied to the seeds or onto the plant surface or onto the soil, they colonizes the rhizosphere or the interior part of the plant and promotes the growth by increasing the supply of availability of primary nutrients to the host. So such preparations are called as biofertilizers. Biofertilizers add nutrient through the natural process of nitrogen fixation, solubilizing phosphorus, and stimulating the plant growth through the synthesis of growth promoters. Biofertilizers can be expected to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So once again, biofertilizers are the preparations which have been produced from a living microorganism or a dormant microorganism or the product of the microorganisms which has an ability of improving the fertility of the soil by fixing the atmospheric nitrogen or by solubilizing the phosphorus or by increasing the uptake of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium or by increasing by increasing the plant to stimulate the growth hormones for the better growth of the plants. They are also called as PGPRs, plant growth promoting bacteria. They such PG plant growth promoting bacteria can be used as a biofertilizers. These plant growth promoting bacteria can be a endophytic, that is they can enter inside the host and help in uptake of this nutrition or fixing the atmospheric nitrogen, or it can remain in the rhizosphere. Rhizosphere, we know it is the soil which is surrounding the root system, and they may help in the production of various phytohormones or in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen or phosphate solubilizing, or they are some of these organisms are also found to be antagonistic either by producing citrophores or by producing hydrogen cyanide. So or by any of the antibiotics they can produce, which are also found to be antagonistic and help in the growth of plants. Overall, these group of bacteria or the organisms can be called as plant growth promoting organisms. So such organisms can be the preparations of such organisms which we are going to apply onto the field for increasing the fertility of the soil. They are called as, such preparations are called as biofertilizers. Now, what are the advantages of these biofertilizers? Biofertilizers help in maintaining the environmental health by reducing the level of pollutions. When compared to that of chemical fertilizers, the environmental health, that is, the pollution, is being reduced by the use of biofertilizers. Reduces human and animal hazards by reducing the level of residue in the product, increases the agricultural products and makes it sustainable. The yield of the crop increases because of the use of such biofertilizers. It ensures the optimum utilization of natural resources, reduces the risk of crop failures. improves the physical and chemical properties of the soil. Physical in the sense the water holding capacity or the aeration of the soil is, and the consistency of the soil is being improved. Chemical properties, the nutrition inside the soil, in the soil, is improved by these organisms which we are going to use as a biofertilizer. Biofertilizers are cost effective when compared to that of synthetic fertilizers. So these biofertilizers is being found to be environmental friendly, and they can be either found as a endophytic, or they can be found symbiotic, or they can be found in the rhizosphere region, and they help in the constant supply of the nutrition, and also they also improve in the uptake of NPK. They improves the soil health, and also they suppress the soil borne pathogenic disease causing microorganism, enhances the crop production. So these are the some of the advantages of the usage of biofertilizers. And also using biofertilizers can increase the crop yield by 20 to 30%. 30 to 20% of the crop yield is being improved because of the usage of such biofertilizers. Now, coming to the types of biofertilizers, how we can classify these biofertilizers as? We can classify these biofertilizers as bacterial, algal, and fungal based on the type of organism we are using as a biofertilizer, and also for the purpose which we are using these biofertilizers. It can be classified into bacterial or heterotrophic bacteria, or a photosynthetic bacteria, and fungal. The If we are using bacteria for the process of the production of the biofertilizer, it's called as bacterial. Photosynthetic bacteria, usually blue green algae, we are going to use as a biofertilizer. And the fungal biofertilizers, especially some of the phosphate solubilizers, or you, and also the mycorrhiza, which have been associated with the roots of certain higher plants. Even these can be called as the biofertilizers. So now, heterotrophic bacteria, how we can classify these heterotrophic bacteria for the purpose of usage of these biofertilizers, based on for what purpose we are going to use this bacteria, whether they are nitrogen fixers or phosphate solubilizers. For the process of nitrogen fixation, or for increasing the nitrogen content in the soil, we can use following organism, whether, and you can classify those nitrogen fixers as how they have been associated with the plants, whether they are symbiotic or associative, or non-symbiotic or free living. Symbiotic, Frankia, rhizobium are the best example. Associative nitrogen fixers is azospirillum. Non-symbiotic, that's a soil bacteria, azotobacter. Phosphate solubilizers. These are the group of organism which has an ability of solubilizing the insoluble phosphorus, that is the rock phosphorus. Phosphorus, we know they are very important for the growth of the plant. ATP has got phosphorus, and for the DNA synthesis or the nucleic acid synthesis, phosphate are required. Without this phosphate, no living organism would have occurred. So this is also one of the macronutrients which is required for the growth of the plant. So as such, the phosphate cannot be utilized by the plants. Only when it is being solubilized, only such forms can be absorbed or assimilated by the plants for their growth and development. There are few bacteria as well as bacteria which has an ability of solubilizing these phosphorus. Such bacteria, usually the non-symbiotic one which are found in the soil, they have an ability of doing such process. Example, bacillus and pseudomonas, and many others which I am going to brief you in this video lecture. So these phosphate solubilizers can also be adopted as a biofertilizers. Biofertilizers can also be classified based on, I mean, as I said, the other group of biofertilizers are photosynthetic bacteria, especially these blue green algae, cyanobacteria. which has an ability of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. As we know, the mechanism of nitrogen fixation of this blue-green algae in heterocyst and all we have studied in depth in my previous classes. So this blue-green algae also has an ability of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. Hence, these organisms can be used for the production of biofertilizers. They can be again a symbiotic biofertilizer, I mean organism which have been found associated with Azolla, that is Anabina azole has been found associated with this Azolla. So we can produce the Azolla plant so that which can be used as a green manure, or directly this Azolla can be inoculated onto the paddy field, which the yield, because of this inoculation, the yield of that particular field improves. Likewise, non-symbiotic bacteria, non-symbiotic blue-green algae like nostoc, even some species of Anabina, Rivillaria, Lingbia, Cytonema, etc. These organisms can also be grown, isolated, and mass produced, and can be used as a biofertilizers for fixing the atmospheric nitrogen to improve the nitrogen content in the soil. Likewise, fungal biofertilizers usually for phosphate solubilization, and they are also used as a mobilizers, that is the uptake of the nutrition has been improved by the association of few of the fungi, like especially symbiotic fungi mycorrhiza, the fungi which has been associated with the roots of higher plants. So such organisms or the mycorrhiza can be uh, used as a biofertilizers, example glomus, gygospora, etc. Likewise, even there are many molds, aspergillus, penicillium, many other fungi which I'm going to discuss in my future slides. Even they have an ability of solubilizing this phosphorus. Hence, even those organisms, those fungal isolates can also be used as a biofertilizers to improve the fertility of the soil. So this is about the types of biofertilizers. So now let us study about the types of biofertilizers. So in my previous slide we studied about the classification of biofertilizers based on the kind of microorganism we are going to use, bacterial or blue-green algal or fungal biofertilizers. Here biofertilizers can also be classified based on the purpose of usage, whether they are nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, phosphate solubilizing biofertilizers, phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers, or biofertilizers for the micronutrients, or the biofertilizers for plant growth promotion. So let us study each one in detail. Nitrogen fixing biofertilizers. Again, they can be classified whether they are free living or symbiotic or associated. Free living forms, that is, if they are found in the rhizosphere soil. So if they have an ability of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen, they can be utilized for the production of biofertilizers. Example, Azotobacter, Bigerincia, Clostridium, Klebsiella, Anabina, nostoc, irrespective of whichever the group they belongs to, whether they are a bacteria or the algae, we can use those as a biofertilizer. Symbiotic, if they have been associated with a particular plant. For example, rhizobium, found in the leguminous plants. Frankia, casuarina plant, it's an actinomycetes which has been found in associated with the roots of casuarina. Anabina azole, here Anabina azole is one of the blue-green algae found associated with a pteridophyte water fern called as azolla. So these are, since they are symbiotically associated, hence they can also be used in the production of biofertilizer for the nitrogen fixation. Symbiotic, that is associative symbiotic or associative nitrogen fixers, azospirillum. This is one of the gram negative microaerophilic bacteria which has been found in the rhizoplane region, rhizoplane region of the plants belonging to the Gramineae or Poaceae, that is grass family. All this rice, ragi, jowar, wheat, these plants, in the roots of these plants, this azospirillum has been associated and they have been involved in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. And we have phosphate solubilizing bacteria or a fungi. Phosphate solubilizers, we know the organism which have been involved in the solubilizing the insoluble phosphorus, so that the soluble form of the phosphorus can be utilized by the plants for their growth and development. There are certain bacteria, especially the many species of bacillus, Bacillus megatherium, Bacillus subtilis, Bacillus circulans, many other species of bacillus has this ability. Apart from that, Pseudomonas striata, even this organism has an ability of solubilizing the phosphorus. Fungi, many species of Aspergillus and Penicillium have the ability of solubilizing this phosphorus. Hence, these organisms can be employed for as a biofertilizer for solubilizing this phosphorus. Phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers. Mobilizing, that is, making ability of the plant to absorb them, mobilize. These are the organism which helps in the absorption of the NPK, especially phosphorus, even potassium and even nitrogen. They help in the absorption of these nutrients. So they are called as mobilizing biofertilizers, phosphate mobilizing biofertilizer. Apart from the mobilization of this NPK, they also been involved in increasing the uptake of the water, and also this mycorrhiza, especially the hyphae they produce, the mycelium they produce, they just cover over the surface of the root hair or the root, so that the water holding capacity as well as the absorption capability of the root, and also if any pathogen attack happen, they reduces such risk. So this mycorrhiza which have been employed in mobilizing the nutrients has plays a major role in higher plants, which has been associated with the roots of higher plants. They can be mycorrhiza, can be arbuscular, which forms arbuscules. Before it was called as vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, VAM. Vesicles, if they produce vesicles, they are called as vesicular mycorrhiza. Arbuscular, if they produce arbuscules. I will let you know what are these vesicles and arbuscules later. Ectomycorrhiza, mycorrhiza found if it doesn't enters inside the host cell, host tissue. They are called as ectomycorrhiza. Many species of mushrooms like Caria species, Boletus species, Amanita species, Silolitis species, they are ectomycorrhiza. And ericoid mycorrhiza, Pezizilla species. And also we have orchid mycorrhiza, where they have been found associated with the roots of orchids. Some of the examples are many, n number of species are there. One of the example is Rhizoctania solani, is being found as mycorrhiza, which has been found associated with many orchids. And also the biofertilizers for micronutrients, the for example silicate solubilizers, zinc solubilizers, even like that of phosphorus solubilizing ability. Even there are certain species of bacillus which has the ability of solubilizing the silicate and zinc. Even these are the nutrients which are micronutrients which is required for the growth of the plants. Hence, the solubilization of the silicate and zinc can be done by many species of bacillus. And also apart from this, PGPRs, especially the Pseudomonas fluorescens species, where this bacteria has an ability of producing siderophores, which is ion chelating agent, which acts like a antagonistic, which has this antagonistic property of destroying the pathogens. Apart from that, the Pseudomonas species, even Stobacter species, also has an ability of producing such citrophores, and also the Azotobacter, even azoospermum species also produces various phytohormones like that of auxins, gibberellins, which helps in the growth of the plants. Hence, these biofertilizers can be adopted, these organisms can be used for the production of the fertilizers for organic farming. In my next video, let us study about in detail how the different biofertilizers are produced in detail.